Hi, I'm Christine DeBera of LMVA Consulting, welcoming you to this week's Friday feature. This week, we're going to feature the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra. The Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, otherwise known as WJO, is Canada's first community-based, not-for-profit professional jazz orchestra, and for the last 3 years, I've been a member of the board. Today, we have Dr. Richard Gillis, Artistic Director for the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, as we talk about the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, the St. James Infirmary Annual Fundraiser, an event that's happening on Sunday, May 24th on CJNU 93.7 FM. Hi, Richard. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing today?
Just fine.
Great, great. Have you been finding that it's definitely been a different dynamic for the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra during this time?
Well, there's been no dynamics. Well, none as far as the players are concerned. There's been a lot that we've been doing, you know, and applying for grants and trying to figure out what things are going to look like and make as many plans as we can for the rest of this summer and the new season.
And the new season. What is the Jazz Orchestra doing with the events that we had to cancel and going forward?
Well, that's, I don't think we have quite enough time to go through all of that, but we're trying to present that material in other ways. You know, we have to move forward because we had already made plans for our next season. So we have to kind of go forward with what we had planned for next season. But even next season could be in flux. You know?
True
so
enough.
We'll find a way to do that material that we had planned to do in the future, but for now, we need to look forward instead of backwards, sort of.
So for those who are listening to this for the first time, you know, can you just share a little bit about what the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra is and what it's all about and why it came to its own existence?
Yeah, jazz players often find themselves playing with small groups.
Yeah.
Because the nature of it is that if you have a wedding reception, you just want 3 or 4 musicians to play, or maybe 2, you know, maybe you just want a piano player. Part of that is cost. But jazz players for 100 years have always tried to congregate in larger groups because it's community. And so big bands, even though the height of the big bands was in the 30s, 1930s and 40s, early 40s, there are a lot of big bands around the world that maybe just rehearse. Maybe they play a concert now and again. Maybe they play at a club once a week and everybody makes $10 each, kind of thing. That happens in a lot of places. But in 1997, Sasha Boychuk, a wonderful saxophonist, and I put together the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra because we wanted to have a group that played concerts. There's so much great big band material from over the last 100 years that we wanted to perform and bring to Winnipeg audiences. And it also gave the opportunity to bring together musicians in the city that wouldn't normally have a chance to see each other. Great musicians, but it gives them a chance to play together, some great music. So that's why we formed it, partly for community and partly for just getting a chance to play and create great big band music, jazz music.
Fantastic, fantastic. So how many people are in the band? Orchestra?
At any one concert, we will have between 17 and 20 people on stage. And we have a certain rotation of players so that, you know, more great players from Winnipeg get a chance to play. So we have about 30 people we draw from, maybe 30, maybe sometimes some years even more. But generally there's about 15, 16 players that are mostly regular, fairly regular. So.
Great. Well, and from the concerts that I've been involved with the board and the community for about 3 years, it's amazing the amount of passion and energy that the musicians within the community have, and how you've been able to bring in some fabulous guest performers to play with the band. Are there any that stand out for you?
Well, there are a lot that stand out. There's sometimes I remember sometimes just being on stage and thinking this is just, you know, an amazing experience. Or sometimes I remember one concert having Rick Belton beside me in the trumpet section and just saying, you know, talking to him about this couldn't be any better.
Mm-hmm.
That concert was an Ellington suite that we performed, and it was just magical. But there have been many magical experiences. Some because of the specific music that you're playing, and some because of the guests.
Yes.
You know, and we've had some really amazing guests. So,
I know there are too many to list, right?
Well, you know, you start listing and then you leave off some that maybe when you have more time, you think, oh, well, wait a second. You know, we've had a few people from Europe, that performers, Nikolai Benson from Denmark, Bert Joris from Belgium, who are not well known over here, but are amazing. And of course, we've had some, you know, Curtis Fuller, a trombonist, a legendary trombonist, Rufus Reed, just again, you know, just Dick Oates from the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, not Lincoln Center, pardon me, I'm losing it here. I'm just not, but so many great players that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's amazing, and the lineups over the last few years have been fantastic. So one of the things that the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra does is their annual fundraiser for St. James Infirmary, which sadly would have been held this week, and we had to defer it.
It would have been held tonight.
Oh,
last night. Sorry. on the 24th.
Yeah, it would have been held last night.
Yes.
So what is that event all about? St. James Infirmary.
It started about 7 years ago. We, a board member, Terry Cheater, is kind of a mover shaker. He's able to put things together, and he wanted to organize a fundraiser that was fun, had food.
Yeah.
Musicians and food, they seem to go together, you know. You have to keep the musicians playing so they're away from the food. Just anyway, he came up with this idea that he wanted to do something about 7 years ago, and we looked for a location, and we came up with Neil Bardall Center on Notre Dame.
Okay.
And Joan came up with the idea of calling it St. James Infirmary, which is a jazz tune Louis Armstrong made famous. And it just seemed to fit, you know. So it and Terry really basically almost sold all the tickets himself, probably 250 tickets or something like that. So it was a great event, and you know, at one point when Terry was off the board and wasn't involved anymore, we had to make that decision: do we keep doing it? And we just decided it was just too much fun. Even if we didn't make any money, it was too much fun. So we kept on doing the event. Great.
Well, it definitely is a great event, and it drew in, what was that, 300, 250, 300?
Well, at the beginning, yeah, Terry had a lot of friends, and so it typically draws over 200, certainly, and close to 200. Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening with CJNU this weekend?
Well, let me just pull up that information just so I don't get anything wrong. Not that I would. So this Saturday, on the 24th, from 7 to 10, they will be presenting a playlist of a number of songs that I gave them a list of songs that I said, well, these are likely tunes that we would play at a typical St. James Infirmary. So let's see, I will read off a few of the songs. For example, of course, St. James Infirmary, Bourbon Street Parade, St. Louis Blues, Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans, and then some that maybe aren't typically just New Orleans tunes, Pennsylvania 65,000, some bassy things like Meetin' Time,
Okay.
Duke Ellington, Sea Jam Blues, and Caravan, and we've got some Woody Herman tunes like Blues on Parade, Glenn Miller, Little Brown Jug, Moonlight Serenade, George on My Mind. We got Ray Charles.
Wow.
We got Ray Charles in doing that one, and of course Benny Goodman, like Sing Sing Sing. Yeah, what else?
So it's a long list of different songs that are being played over the night.
Probably about 30 songs. Some obviously we have to use recordings.
Yeah.
So we've got some Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra recordings, a few things that we did, like from Hymn for Freedom and to If I Only Had a Brain. We often kind of identify with that tune. And yeah, it might as well be spring, which it finally is.
Yes, it is.
And then, of course, as I said, we got Louis Armstrong as a special guest, and Benny Goodman and Cal Basie were nice enough to show up for this event this weekend.
Fantastic. So really, it's an opportunity to expose the public on what St. James Infirmary is, what Winnipeg Jazz is all about, and a little bit of history along with it.
Yeah, it's light material. Sometimes with a jazz orchestra, and one reason so many groups, professional groups call themselves orchestras, Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra and many others, is because it reflects what you are trying to do, and that's create music that is worthy to be called art music. And that, what does that mean? It just means that you're exploring material. And sometimes it's easy for people to follow what's going on. Sometimes it takes a little explanation. But, St. James Infirmary leans toward, St. James Infirmary looks at the music that was dance material and entertainment.
Yeah.
It's so accessible. And what makes it accessible? Clear rhythms, dance rhythms, and clear melodies.
Wow. So you're saying that on Sunday night between 7 to 10, when this is being aired on CJNU, those who like to dance, do a little swing, can be doing that in the comfort of their own home.
They can do it. They can stream it too. They can put that on YouTube. That would be great. Maybe we should have a little contest, a dance contest.
Maybe everyone should take pictures of themselves all dressed up, watching the show and sharing it on social media.
That's an idea. You're right. It is on Sunday. I had said Saturday, but it's Sunday the 24th.
Yes, Sunday the 24th. No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So before we wrap things up, I know that this Sunday that's happening with CJNU, at this event, we're also going to be highlighting a little bit of our next season and promoting our ticket subscription sales. So do you want to give everyone a sneak peek of what's out there for the next year?
Yes. Well, I'm going to tell you what our plans are.
Okay.
Obviously, no one knows what's going to happen over the next little while. And so we're making all sorts of contingency plans so that we can continue to make music. And I'll tell you what those are. But first of all, the program, we've gone to 7 concerts this year because we just wanted to, and we had the opportunity, and we've got some great themes. We have a trombonist, Jenny Kellogg, coming for March the 25th or October 25th.
Yeah.
Derek Gardner will be leading a Basie concert on November the 15th. So
That would
that's
be amazing.
3
Yeah.
weeks later. And then we have Charlotte Martin, who's just a great vocalist, doing a soul concert. She's got a lot of soul, and she's got a lot of tunes that will just be smoking that day. That'll be on November the 29th.
Wow.
So we're counting on the Grey Cup not being on the November the 29th. We'll work that out. And then we have Trio Bembite doing a Latin Christmas concert with us on the 12th and 13th of December.
Wow.
We have a Filipino vocalist who's living in Tokyo coming for February 14th, Sharito.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be very cool. We have a Giants of Jazz exploring Miles Davis and John Coltrane on March the 21st. And we have a vocalist, Jennifer Hansen, and her musical collaborator from Atlanta, Georgia, Del Baroni, doing the concert on May the 2nd. So that's our concert schedule. And I mentioned that, you know, we're going to proceed with the idea that these concerts will happen in a typical manner, but we have some ideas for making adjustments for smaller crowds, maybe having a concert with no intermission, you know, and having a few of them spaced out during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an alternative. We're also looking for those that don't want or are not able to come out. We would like to produce a 1-hour online concert that's accessible just to subscribers. So we're looking at different possibilities, and we'll let people know and update people as we're able to, and we have more information. But let's look at the bright side, and assume that the sun will come out and that things will be normal, and so this is our plans in any case.
Great, great. Well, thanks, Richard, so much for taking the time to talk to me and talk a little bit about the Jazz Orchestra, their plans, and the upcoming event on Sunday. And we do invite everyone to join us. You know, whether you're going to sit back and listen to this music in your backyard, or, you know, stand up and dance a little and move along with the tunes, right?
Oh.
So again, on CJNU 93.7 FM from 7 to 10 on Sunday, May 24th. And if anybody is interested in purchasing tickets, learning a little bit more about Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, you can check out our website at www.winnipegjazzorchestra.com. Anything else to add, Richard?
I don't think so. I think we got it. It's a wrap.
Great.
We put a
That's
bow.
a wrap. Well, thanks again. Have a great day.
Okay. See ya.